I would say that today we are at the edge of the greatest revolution in the accounting world since actually the introduction of the double entry bookkeeping system that was introduced 500 years ago. Now 500 years later, we are in the biggest change, which is the automation of all the crunching number job. And well, this evolution will bring a lot of opportunity, and there's more and more opportunities for startups. Hi. I'm very happy to see that all of you are not accountants, because I was actually expecting to have a public that was entirely accountants, and I was like, oh, I would be the only one who's not an accountant here. But thanks God you're not. So basically, my name is Mathieu. I'm a tech entrepreneur, but in all my entrepreneurship story, I had the chance, let's say it this way, to touch a lot with accounting. And actually, it started when I was 16. I helped my dad, who had, this kind of old industrial company with a very complicated paper process, to help him with accounting and to make it more digital. That was back, well, a long time ago. And well, at that time, I was already obsessed to scale my time. I didn't want to, spend exactly the same process that he was doing with paper and do it exactly the same way on computer. So I wanted to automate and make things more automated to improve the process. Later on, I had several ventures, and the last one was called Menu Next Door. And I was the CFO at Menu Next Door. We were active in 3 different countries, which actually implied a process that was quite complicated to manage with the accounting and financials. And to give you my point of view as an entrepreneur, what is very important for me is to have to have an overview of my financials at any time. So I want a real-time overview. I want to see my financials in real time, and that's something that is not happening yet today in accounting, especially for small companies. So that's a first thing that you absolutely need. The second thing you absolutely need as an entrepreneur is to have an accountant who is at the cutting edge of technology. You want your accountant to be in the 21st century, and that's what you really hope for and striving for. And then the third thing that you need as an entrepreneur is to have a partner. Your accountant is, first of all, a partner to help you with your financials. And well, what I realize is some firms are able to do it, and a lot of firms are not able to do it yet. However, the technology is there today. The technology today actually allows these accountants to bring all these services, all these 21st century services to the market. The first problem, however, is a lot of accounting softwares is what I would call dinosaurs. I don't know if you guys know what I mean with dinosaurs. They are big, they are heavy, they are very slow, and that's not what you expect in today's world. And what happens is there are a lot of processes in the accounting. You need a very efficient data entry. You need very efficient accounts. You need very efficient reporting and in real time. And then you need your financials to give you some insights and actionable insights in terms of reducing cost, in terms of bringing more efficiency to improve the margins. And that's something that that needs to be done not on a yearly basis as it was done before, but nearly on a daily basis. And today, so we're at the edge of a big change in the accounting and the financial world because first of all, the technology actually allows that. So the technological evolution that is bringing, that we're bringing today, and that these guys will bring you today, is that we're coming from these dinosaurs softwares, these softwares that are very big, very heavy, and very slow, and we're having more and more smaller, more specialized softwares that are more connected. So I don't know if you guys are all familiar with what an API is. An API is actually a kind of bridge that allows softwares to be connected together, to talk together, and to exchange data together. And thanks to these APIs, more and more smaller softwares are actually able to bring all the specialization you need that are exactly done and nearly custom made for your business, and then connect together to have the ideal big software made for you. So of course, all this comes with an additional layer that is very fancy for the moment, which is the artificial intelligence. And actually, we're going to talk about it a lot today as well. Artificial intelligence in accounting is a reality today. It's not coming tomorrow. It's already there. We have a startup here that is able to automate entirely the data entry process, and this is actually the process that requires the biggest amount of human hours, and this is done now entirely automatically. Of course, all this technological evolution bring some job evolution, some human evolution. What are, well, if we take the numbers in France, for example, there are 120,000 people working in as accountant today in France. What will all these people become? And that's a very big question mark, especially because it's not an evolution that is coming in 10 years' time. So these people actually will have to change their job within 3, 4, maximum 5 years. This is happening very, very soon. Well, their job is actually going to improve that way. They're not going to crunch numbers anymore. Crunching numbers is definitely something for the machine. Actually, the machine is doing it way better than humans, and way faster as well. Why paying people to crunch numbers 1 billion times slower than what the machine is doing? However, there are many things where the machine is not doing the proper job, and that's where the human should actually focus more and more time and attention, which is all the partnership side of the job that I was talking to you earlier. As an entrepreneur, I need a partner next to me that is really advising me, that is helping me to have good insights on my business, that is helping me to have a good reporting, and to have a reporting that I can actually use to improve my business as well. And this advisory role is something that the accountant will be the best at. And well, to conclude, actually, I would say that today we are at the edge of the greatest revolution in the accounting world since actually the introduction of the double entry bookkeeping system that was introduced 500 years ago. Now, 500 years later, we are in the biggest change, which is the automation of all the crunching number job. And well, this evolution will bring a lot of opportunity, and there's more and more opportunities for startup to strive in this environment, especially because access to technology is way faster and way easier today. I mean, if you guys want to start something with artificial intelligence, actually, these are available on the cloud, so you can actually pay per use. You can today start an accounting startup very easily and very quickly. So there's a barrier to entry that is way lower than before, and so I think it's pretty much exciting to be on that market today. And so we're going to present you today 3 wonderful projects, 3 startups who are at the family and who are going to present you their business and the way they actually revolution the accounting world. Thank you.
Hi everyone, welcome to the family. I'm Mikael, Chaintrust CEO, so really happy to see you tonight. So I'm here to talk to you about a painful, stressful, complicated, difficult topic, which is accounting. I want to emphasize one key concept, which is why accounting is still not automated today. Why there are still startups trying to tackle it down. But before to do so, it's a little bit complicated. I have to explain you what is accounting. And I'm gonna take a comparison. So if you go to Amazon Go store, you can buy something, put something in your bag, get out of the store. A complicated algorithm computer vision will analyze what you bought, will analyze your face, and will be able to compute this and to withdraw cash from your bank account. So this is really complicated. But when it comes to a simple PDF invoice, it doesn't work. Why? So I'm going to explain what is accounting to answer this question. Accounting is simple. This is data processing to match 3 templates. So you take all the data from the life of your company, expenses, equity, sales, you take this data, you process them, you transform them to match into 3 legal documents, which are P&L, balance sheet, cash flow statement. So accounting is only data processing, taking some data, digest this data, and turn this data into legal templates. So you're going to tell me, okay, fine. I can plug my bank account, and in my bank account, each time I make a sale, this is on my bank account. Each time I raise money, this is in my bank account. Each time I make an expense, it's on my bank account. So basically, I take data from my bank account, and I can automate accounting. That's because people think that all startups trying to automate accounting have failed. This is really a bad idea. This is wrong. This is completely wrong for several reasons. But just for instance, when you make a sale, you will be paid within 3 months. But your shareholder, they want to have day-by-day accounting. So if you plug your bank account and turn those data into accounting, you will not be able to have a day-to-day information. We can also say that your bank account, there are some data that is just 1 line. And sometimes this 1 line, you have to have more data to be able to compute it correctly. So there is one other question, which is how to automate this, how to automate accounting. So at Chaintrust.io, what we're doing is completely automate and secure accounting. And we are really strongly, fully convinced that the only way to automate accounting is to go through the supporting document. For example, if you make a sale, the supporting document will be the invoice. So every time you have an operation, it can be a sales invoice, it can be an expense, it can be a profit, it can be equity, a contract. Anyway, you have to go back to the supporting documentation to be able to extract the information. There is no shortcut. You have to go through this. And this is way more complicated because you take 1 invoice. For instance, you buy an iPhone. In this iPhone, you buy 1 iPhone, you buy one phone plan to take some calls, and you buy one insurance if you drop your iPhone. Each of those data, they go to a separated account. And it's even more complicated. If I buy an iPhone to resell the iPhone, it goes to a special account. If I buy an iPhone to use the iPhone, it goes to another account. In my bank account, it will be the same line. The invoice will look like the same way, but you cannot automate accounting if you are not aware of why do you buy it, how do you buy it, and what is the purpose of buying it. So the only way to automate accounting is to understand what is the business of the company, how the company works, and this is really complicated. You have to understand in which country you are, because if you're in Spain, sometimes the expenses are not booked in the same account in France. You have to understand how to book it, because some accounts are only available in some countries. You have to understand how it was booked last year, because if you book it another way this year, then it's wrong. You have to keep the same method than last year. So at Chaintrust, we really think that you have two steps. You have to understand previous year accounting. France is really good way to start with this, because you have a file which name is the FEC, Fichier des Écritures Comptables, which can be really processed automatically, and which is the same for all the software. But you have to understand how last year the data was processed, how last year this, I don't know, Total supplier were booked, how Apple supplier were booked, how all your expenses were booked. And once you have understood all the process, all the bookkeeping, then you can analyze the invoice or the contract. And this is not two separate steps. Basically, step 1 and step 2 are really related. You cannot do 2 without 1, and only then, only when you have understood this, you can book correctly all the data. So I would like to share with you some nice topic to check. Mostly they are in French, but I'm sure that you will use Google Translate. So the first one is compta online. So compta online, you have to separate some commercial article and some article which go a little bit, we take the big picture and which are kind of interesting. On the other way, you have Chaintrust blog, when you really have the vision of CTO, of people who code, and how they really automate accounting. For instance, VAT testing, so it's kind of quite deep. You have also CFO Connect, which is, if you are CFO, you can go to the meeting, and it's Zendesk, I think, which organized that. You have also Le Lab 50, which share a lot of mémoire du DEC, so thesis defense of future chartered accountants about AI, which are kind of interesting. And you also have chartered accountants from Canada. They are pioneer in AI and audit and accounting, and they started talk about it and sharing article about it about 10 years ago when nobody knew what it was. Okay, so thank you for listening me. You have my email. I always answer. So thanks everyone.
Good evening, everyone. So my name is David. I'm the CTO of Acasi. So actually, you were probably expecting Jonathan Cohen to talk to you tonight, but he was held in LA for a conference. Last minute thing, so he couldn't make it. So I'm going to try and cover for him. So basically, I'm going to quickly talk to you about what we do at Acasi. So we are a web application that is trying to automate the accounting and financial management for freelancers and self-employed people. So basically we do that by retrieving and processing the accounting items, accounting flows from customers. So as we are chartered accountants, we are able to legally fulfill all requirements, which are VAT returns, tax returns, year-end financial statements, as well as annual general meetings and providing pay slips for presidents. So as part of our solution, we provide real-time dashboards with indicating indicators such as what you owe the government, basically VAT payments or social contributions. And those are made in real time, meaning that at any time you are able to see how much money you owe to the government. We also have notifications and especially a dedicated coach, meaning that if you have any question, if you need advice, expert advice, there's a coach dedicated especially to your activity that is able to help you with this. And finally, we have flat pricing. So regardless of the volume or the type of your activity, there's a single price for what we offer. So now I'm going to talk briefly about what we mean by freelancers and self-employed people. So basically there are close to 3 million such people in France. So it's very broad. So I think it's about 1 million freelancers, and the rest are would be lawyers, doctors, and other kind of independent professions. And that number is steadily growing every year, as these status are becoming more and more attractive. And they're all facing the same 3 issues. The issues are time, knowledge, and money. Basically the lack thereof. So lack of time and money is very obvious and could be said for everyone, well, for every profession. But specifically lack of time is when you're an entrepreneur or self-employed. You need time to develop your business, to talk to your customers, to take care of them, and to provide a quality service. And you don't want to be bothered with accounting. And it's estimated that people who do that on their own spend 60 hours a year doing their accounting. So there are many people who do that on Saturday. So they spend an hour or two on Saturday morning trying to gather, to locate their invoices, to send them to their accountants, and it's very time consuming. Then there's a problem that is, in my opinion, specific to France and some other countries like Italy and Russia. It's the knowledge. It means that legal laws, tax laws are very complicated, very intricate in France, as you all know, and it's impossible to be up to date with this knowledge, because it changes all the time. Every 6 months there's a new law, and it's very complicated, so you need an expert for that. So there's basically a lack of knowledge and a growing complexity as well. And it leads to poor decision making. So very often you need to do important decision making, and if you don't really know what you talk about, well, it leads to poor decision, and you can lose a lot of money with that. And the final thing is money, because accounting is complicated. You need expertise, and expertise is money. Is pricey. It costs a lot of money, like competence. And very often these freelancers cannot afford to have a part-time CFO or to have a chartered accountant that is doing all the job for them. So it's quite complicated. So these are the 3 main issues they're facing. And basically, the chartered accountants are trying to face this issue in some way. So there are 20,000 chartered accountants in France, the thing is that they have, most of them are very generalists. They have generalized positioning, which means that they focus on all kind of small and medium businesses, and not only on freelancers. Well, that's not their core business, because then they want to offer a variety of services. As far as their internal structure, there's usually one chartered accountant and one or many associates. And it's estimated that on average, one chartered accountant is responsible for 35 to 40 clients. And how they manage their clients today is once a year they would meet for like an annual meeting, a presentation, where they present the year-end financial statements. And during that meeting, they would try to push and like sell extra services, consulting services that are quite costly. And it's quite impossible for them to advise freelancers in real time, because that's not their core business. Their core business is larger companies, like smaller startups or smaller companies. And basically, I think it's not in their best interest for chartered accountants to address that specific market. And that's why we are trying to automate this market for them. So the question, how do we automate accounting for freelancers and self-employed people? So basically we think, just like Mike said earlier, the most important thing is data, is accounting data. And for that, what is accounting data? Basically three things, is bank transactions, sales invoices, and purchase invoices. These are the three main things we want to talk about and automate. So how do we automate bank transactions? Basically, as Matthew said earlier, there are APIs. So APIs are like a bridge between banks and applications. And thanks to the new PSD2 regulation that came into force a few years ago, we are able to connect through integrators. We are able to connect to any bank, to most banks, and basically fetch bank transactions in a matter of seconds. So in like 30 seconds, you get all your historical transactions. And that's one way to automate the data. So you get everything in a few seconds. And even for some of them, like Conto, I want to talk about Conto. You are able to get the bank transactions and the documents, like the purchase invoices that are attached to it. So that's one way to automate it. Then you have the sales invoices. So it's basically the same. You have APIs such as for Shopify and PrestaShop. You are able to connect to those APIs and get everything in a few seconds. So you get all your documents, all the metadata, all the dates, amounts, etc. Of course, there's a CSV import that has been used for years. And you have your plugins. So when you use a web application, for some of them, you're able to create your sales invoices directly there. And so all your data is held in-house. Finally, the purchase invoices, how do you automate that? Same as for the banks, you have integrators. So you're able to connect to, for example, your GitHub, your Deliveroo, Amazon, Free, like all the major suppliers. You connect once to them and you get all your invoices. So all the invoices are uploaded and it's done in a matter of like 15, 20 seconds. And the final one is the OCR. So OCR is optical character recognition. So basically it means that you upload a purchase invoice, like any kind of invoice, and it will recognize the date, the amount, the supplier, like all the important data that's on the invoice. So once you've done that, you basically you eliminate the collection time for all this raw data. And as Mike was saying earlier, I believe that it's the most important thing, that if your data is reliable and clean, then you can do anything after that. And that's the last point, that anything is basically automating the advice and the consulting. Because once you have clean data, basically you're able to create any kind of algorithm to analyze that data and help in the decision-making process. And also one other thing that we believe is important is focus on a vertical, basically being a specialist more than a generalist. So since we focus solely on freelancers and self-employed, we're able to know this market and to build algorithms that are more efficient. Also taking into account the integration of specificities, like when we talk about freelancers, there are lawyers, there are models, there are IT developers. So we need to take these specificities into account. But once we've done that, we're able, for instance, a problem that many people are facing is the choice of a corporate form. Should I be a simplified LLC, SAS, or a LLC, which is SARL? That's a question. It's not easy to find the answer very quickly. But if we have clean data and efficient algorithm, we're able to know in advance what should be the best corporate form for you. Also, how to get money out of your business? Should you get paid as a salary, or should you get dividends? Those are two very different. They have very different tax consequences. So, I think with enough data, we are able to automate this consulting. And so that's it. I think the most important, we truly believe that we should focus on a specific market, so the freelancers, in order to automate advice and then maybe go further with some other SMEs and markets. Thank you.
Hi everyone, it's good to have a big company and invite everyone to a party. First of all, I'm super happy to be here. I'm going to talk a bit about entrepreneur story tonight. And we have ourselves a story with the family. 4 years ago, I was standing here for a pitch to launch my project. And as you know, in those worlds we pronounce very often, fake it until you make it, or things like that. We learned many lessons in those 4 years. We had a dream by that time to gather entrepreneurs and accountants. It took us time. I think we did it. 4 years ago, we decided to get to the other side, to get our hands dirty, and to be an accounting company. And even accountant can be very funny, as we just saw with Acasi. But we realized that what I was talking about 4 years ago on that same stage, what we expect as an entrepreneur from the accountant is very hard to match. The demand is very hard to match in terms of production, in terms of client relations, in terms of the amount of work we need to do to deliver the account. And in French we say on a déchanté. It was very hard. We got 1,000 clients in 18 months. As an accounting firm, and we tried everything to go fast on our production. We tried to offshore the accounting in Madagascar. We tried all the software that was on the market, and it was very complex to absorb all that and to scale and to deliver the value proposition clients were expecting. But we decided that accounting company was not our core business. It was not what we wanted to do. And instead of continuing on that way, we created a marketplace to match accountant and entrepreneurs. I think it's very true, was David just said about specialization. It's hard to be generalist in accounting. Companies are very specification, a lot of specification, and it's a good way. So in that marketplace, we said we are going to listen to the need of the entrepreneur, and instead of trying to solve all the needs, we are going to match it with a good accountant. And doing that for the last 3 years, in the same time, we developed a software, accounting software, using AI. I think Mike explained us how it works, and it's not that easy to automate accounting, even if we read everywhere that it's the first job that is going to be automated by AI. So it took us a lot of time to do that, but we finally did it. And our goal, through all the experience we had from the other side, was to give more power to the accountants. We believe accountants have a mission. The mission is to help entrepreneurs, to give them the good data, the good time, not to spend time doing bookkeeping. And we did the product to provide them this data. Tonight is a special night for us. As I said, we had a specific relationship with the family. I thank them very, very much for everything they have given us. They had put us in the world of the startup. They have helped us with our fundraising. They have helped us to believe in our project, and for that we are very thankful. And it's why we are tonight launching our new brand. As I said, Fred de la Compta was first an accounting company, then a marketplace to match entrepreneurs and accountants, and we developed our system, what was called Fred. But there was a difficulty to understand this. As we want to give more power to the accountant, we need to move away the persona of Fred. It's important that each accountant can talk from himself, not be behind Fred. So we change brand because of new markets as well, because we really want to be seen as a tech company that is bringing the accountant to be more powerful. So I'll let you discover it. Thank you. AI software for accountants. Our goal is to introduce AI and automation in the workflow of accountants. Mike explained very well how they specialize in the treatment of invoices and bookkeeping. We are willing to take that intelligence and bring it through the workflow. So going into the revision, to produce the accounts in real time. So, and as I explained, as a story of an entrepreneur in the accounting firm, is that productivity gain with offshoring, with old style solution, doesn't change the way accountants work. Even if you give productivity tools to an accountant, he still takes his 14th of the month to spend 3 hours for this customer. And the machine has to tell him what he has to do for accounting and give him the data when he needs it. So we really change the workflow of working, and we push him to talk to his customer, we push him to be close to him, and to change and renew his value proposition on a market that is weak to deregulation. But 3 years, it's let's say a year that we are selling to accounting firms really the old product. Our product is now ready. We go from collecting information through bookkeeping, automation, balance sheet in real time until the liasse fiscale. But once again, as an entrepreneur, as entrepreneurs we are at Fed, for our last fundraising, we use our own product very intensely, as it's important in a tech company to use your own product. And we realized that we had a great opportunity with our product. We had an accounting, a bookkeeping that was 1,000 lines, and we had to do 15,000 lines in a few days. And we realized that our product was made for growth, scaling company. So we said it's good when your company is growing very fast. Accounting is always a pain, and we felt it. So we decided to go on a roadshow and meet with entrepreneurs from growing companies. I mean, middle-sized company from 50 employees to 500 employees, even more. Some company were like over 2,000 employees. And we realized that there was always the same pains with accounting. And at the end, when we showed them our product, they were in love with it and wanting to buy it. So it's the same for a middle-sized company, PME, ETI, as we call them here in France. The accountant has a great knowledge of your company. He knows all the expenses, he knows where the revenue is coming from, he knows everyone. And unfortunately, we see it as an administration and support person when he can be the partner of the entrepreneur, of the executive. So what we do today is we aggregate cash flows, we provide him real-time data, we even provide investor reporting for big startup or company that has raised money with BPI or others. I think this sums up very well what we do and what we offer to those growing company. Scale your books, not your expenses. We have a unlimited invoice, unlimited users, and a fixed cost per month, free growth. So, as we just saw in French, tomorrow's accounting. Today, it's our new Inqom, the future of our old friend company. Thank you very much.
So I'm going to ask them a few questions and to make sure that we will have more insights about what they have to tell us. David, I'm going to start with you. You were talking about how hard the tax regulations are today, especially in France. So basically, what we realize is that the governments everywhere in Europe are talking a lot about simplifying all the administrative process, making things easier for the companies and for entrepreneurs. But that's just communication. What we realize is actually it's more and more complicated. The administrative burden and the tax burden is getting worse and worse every year. How do you foresee this in the future?
Okay, so first of all, you're very right when you say that it's more and more complicated. Even though the government says that they want to simplify things, it's been a few years now, it's not the case. It doesn't happen this way. So there's a very specific and simple example. When you create your own company, you need to choose a tax regime. So corporate tax, personal income tax, or basically you need to choose what kind of VAT you want to pay. So a simplified regime. And it's a very simple choice that you make and that you communicate to the tax authorities. However, in order to confirm that choice, you need to wait for a mail, so a snail mail, not an email, asking you to confirm that choice, and it can take up to 1 to 2 weeks to do that. And basically, in the end, after you've done the process, you've lost almost 30 days. That's something that in some countries is done automatically by clicking on a website. It's just one click. So that's the kind of things, very simple things that can be simplified. So I believe that as a startup or as a group of startups, we need to put pressure on the government, basically, to act as a lobby, to be united or unified, and basically to communicate, to do PR tasks, to force the government to simplify these kind of things. So I think there's already a website that can help us with that. The government created like a simplifier website, but I'm not sure if it's whether it's very efficient. So yeah, basically we would need to create like a force and put pressure on, keep putting pressure on them.
And save the trees. Because basically you said everything is still done with the paper and not online yet.
Pretty much, yes.
Okay,
yes.
so
yeah.
I think it's 2019, it's good to change that.
I don't know, emails have been used for, I don't know, 20 years, maybe 25.
Yeah.
Maybe now would be a right time to use them.
So he's actually making a syndicate now, so if you want to join the movement, please talk to him after the conference. Romain, I have a completely different question for you. If we check the US market, we see that there are a lot of accounting startups and a lot of accounting startups really helping growing companies and also other startups. How do you compare the accounting startups in the US and the ones here in Europe?
Thanks for the question. It's pretty easy. I would join the point of David. In the US, it's not regulated as in France. So all the accounting startups that you see are actually like cabinet comptable, accounting firm here. So they actually they don't really work on tech, like on the full product. They work more on the service they bring. You see one that pilot that just raised for $40 million, I think, a few weeks ago. They're actually an accounting company. And when you call them, because we do call them to know what they do, when you call them, they say, oh, you have to use QuickBooks. So basically, you use QuickBooks. They provide a tech part, but it's something they will plug to QuickBooks. But everything they are selling to you is a service. We have Payfit here in France that did something similar because it was unregulated on the payroll market. And you see our entrepreneurs are wanting that. And I think there is a big opportunity today for accountants to build that service on other technologies company. And it's a very big difference. Here it's hard, to raise fund in a startup, if you are an accounting firm, it's what we were. We couldn't because the capital is regulated. You need accountants that have more than 66% of the voting rights in your company. So it's very complex to raise money in an accounting firm. But in the same time, as a technology company, you cannot provide the service of doing the accounting. So it's why the business model are hybrids and are not easy to scale, because you need to have accountants that are willing to build a new service and a new value proposition on your system. And it's not in the mentalities here in France to say, my client is not going to see my brand. When I called Pilot, that just raised 40 million, the first thing he told me, oh, you need QuickBooks. And you need to use QuickBooks, and everything we are going to do, you are going to find it and download it from QuickBooks. And he didn't care telling me that. Because at the end, he used the technology that was available on the market to sell me his product, his service. And it's why now in France we are very different, but I think it's a way to go. It's a way to go. In accounting company, you cannot raise money. You cannot invest 10 million euro like we did based on fundraising, because you can't. But use us, use a company like us to build your value proposition in services. It's the message we have here. If you want to see what works in the US, you have Bench, you have Pilot, you have all those companies in the US that are working great, and they are accounting company.
And is that linked to accountant corporations, or I mean, what would actually help these to go faster? How can we reach to the point the US market is reaching today?
I'm going to be very careful of what I'm saying, because 4 years ago, I did a speech here on that stage, as I said, and I'm still having troubles with the accounting order because of the words I pronounced 4 years ago. So it's not because of the accountants, of the chartered accountants, because we talk with them every day. They are very open. They want to move on. But the regulation, in the same time as protecting them, makes them slow towards what's coming on. That's the problem. When you protect a market, you make it weak towards innovation. So I would say that's a general way of doing when you put a monopoly on a market and when you protect a market with a diploma. Did I say something bad?
No, I think it was not bad, and I think, well, I got the point. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mike, another question for you. You've been talking a lot about automation. I love automation. I'm a geek myself, so anyway, I love automation as well. So, in what actually is attracting companies into automation of their accounting, and why are they doing so today?
Okay, I think that it depends on the company. Basically, most of our customers are chartered accountants right now, and without that, they would use Chaintrust because of prices. Basically, they do not use the main concern is not price. The main concern is life balance for their employees and turnover. Basically, you have a huge turnover in accounting firms, and that's why today I use Chaintrust. But to get the big pictures, I think you have a different go-to-market for chartered accountant, for small firms, for auto-entrepreneur, for SME that are scaling, which is Romain target, and each of these targets has a different automation need. For instance, what I was saying was not really true about auto-entrepreneur, about plugging into bank and transform the bank's data into bookkeepings. Because for auto-entrepreneur, they always pay everything by credit card right now, day to day. So that could be okay. For Romain's target, the end game is really different because they want to focus on their growth. They don't have time, they don't have resources to hire accountants. And thing is that if they hire an accountant, they also have to hire internal audit. They also have to set up process. So this is very heavy. To conclude, I would say that automation is really a pain for growing firms, chartered accountant firms, but it's not that much a pain for small services companies. And so the go-to-market and the product will be different. And that's also a problem in Europe and in France, is that there are not that much startup able to answer all the needs of several companies, because accounting startup, it's very difficult to raise money because few BA understand what we are doing, and I think it's a shame. But if you start a bookkeeping startup, you have to focus on one or two targets, and that's all. And our target is CFO, unchartered accountant.
Good, thank you. Do you guys have any question to them as well?
No, I have a mic.
Oh, you do.
This is the official mic, and it's a throwable mic. It's doing a weird noise right now, but you can throw it to whatever you want. Okay? You start. You catch it.
Yeah, I'm Jason.
You need to use the mic. I'm sorry. Yeah, it's a mic. You hear me? Yeah.
Okay.
That's pretty cool, huh?
Each of you in some way spoke about real-time information. I've spent 10 years in Silicon Valley as CFO. I've never given a shit about real-time information. I want to know what you mean by it and why it's important.
So what I do mean by real-time information is not waiting that your supplier are paid to book the regarding expenses or the regarding profit. It's what I will call accrual basis accounting versus cash accounting. That's what I mean personally.
Hi. Can maybe is there any one of you is there any problems that your solution doesn't solve yet and you find it technically difficult? Yeah. Anyone who has an idea?
There is many problems that we don't solve. AI is here for the mainstream of the transaction documents. But if you send us I mean, I don't know for you, but as a metro invoice with 73 pages, buying a scooter in the middle, there is no way we can do anything about it, and we do the main things, and not all the atypical thing, and it remains to the human. So.
We do perform a lot of invoices, a lot of accounting documents, but some documents are really too complicated because you have a qualitative decision behind those. For instance, you buy a new website. If you assume that this website will help you selling product, you can input it in fixed assets. If you say, oh, it's only my website, you can go to put it in expenses. So that's what Romain was saying with Scooter. Some data are not, right now, it's not possible to automate them fully. The aim is to go to 80%, 90%, 100%.
I would add the example of Amazon invoices, where you have items that belong to many categories. You have purchases, you have miscellaneous items, etc. Today we're not able to split that categorization for invoices. So that's also one limitation we have.
Hello, everyone. I have a question. Several of the entrepreneurs that I speak to, everyone faces a problem of tax optimization, and a lot of people say that their accountants don't offer such a service, they don't advise to them, and for younger companies and startups, they're interested in that. Do you think any of the accounting startups and products that are in the market right now are going to offer such a service? And it's kind of a continuation of the previous questions that you were saying that, for example, it can be like creation of the website. Is it something that's going to be in fixed cost? Is it something that's going to evaluate over time? So yeah, tax optimization basically.
I mean, I would say every accountant does that, but for startup, I don't know, Taco Tax or people like that? Taco Tax, there is one, but
yes, we are aiming at well, our goal is to do that very soon with enough clean data and efficient. We're building algorithms that will help us make this kind of decision. So Like, should you get a salary or dividend? What kind of corporate form should you choose? So I think we'll soon be able to do that automatically. So yes, that's something that's coming.
But that doesn't exist yet. That's basically my question.
Maybe there is something called time, T-I-I-M-E. Take a look, I'm not sure. But anyway, any accountant, any chartered accountant will do it for not that much money.
And also, I think technologically, it's still very complicated to create this today. But it might come in the very near future, especially given the amount of data that companies and startups today are getting from all the numbers. It should be something coming up soon. But you're right. There's no startup today that is really raising and that we hear a lot about in that field.
For example, I use an accounting system called Dougs, and it's great. It gives you notifications in the sense that what you need to do, what kind of documents you need to submit to the tax office, etc. But there's no notifications, for example, saying to me like, okay, based on this data and that what was happening in your company's activity, it would make sense for you to make these and these changes, for example. This is something
that's right. So you guys have a new features new features to develop now.
Thanks.
Hi, thank you. So I have two accountants, and all your products looks great, but my question is about sustainability of the products. If I choose one of those solutions, that means I'm going to change in my company. I need to change the processes. I have to change a lot of things to be able to communicate with the softwares. And my first question is, you are startups, or maybe, how can I be sure that my data are going to be kept secure? What are your engagement with the IRS or tax? If I've got a problem, do you have a problem? I mean, when I've been checked, like for instance, URSSAF in France, my accountant, mon expert comptable, is able to help me and to dedicate someone to me. So I've got services, proper dedicated person. So it's about how do you inscribe your company with the law and the environment? And the second end is, where are my datas? Who kept them? Who used them? Yes. So
I can answer the two questions. The first question was, I don't remember, the responsibility. Us, we sell it to accounting firm. We sell our system to accounting firm, or we sell it to companies with accounting team. So it's always the accountant that have the responsibility of its declaration to the tax office. So it's going to be either the chartered accountant that you took outsourced in an accounting firm, either the accountant, sometimes a chartered accountant that you recruited for your own company inside, that are going to take the responsibility. We just provide the technology to do it. We don't provide the service of declaration or anything. It's what we talked about it earlier. Only chartered accountants can do that. The second point is, for us, your data is in Microsoft Azure, Europe. It's duplicated a few times for security. And we are RGPD. We don't send your data to USA. And if tomorrow we burn ourselves, we have warranted. We have contracted with companies that is continuing our activity even if we are dead. It's very important for a big chartered accountant, like we sell to big companies, and they need to know that even if tomorrow we are not alive, another company will be mandated to continue the development of the software, or at least to maintain the software alive long enough for them to have time to switch. It's very important for reinsurance because, as you said, it's a strategic decision to switch, to change your workflow, to change your in a SME. It's not as big change, but in an accounting firm, it's huge because it's the ERP, the full ERP you're changing. So we need to give guarantees that we are gonna live long, and as we are not declaring millions and millions of benefits so far, we have to have a guarantee for our clients.
So yeah, Romain said it all basically, but I would add that as a chartered accountant, we're obligated to, by law, to secure your data. So ours is secured by AWS, and as soon as you terminate your contract with us, we are obligated to basically to send you all your data within 30 days of the termination day. And as for sustainability, I understand your problem is that if you change your accountant, you have to change your process. We can also take care of your history. So basically, your history you would send it as a CSV file, and we would be able to upload the bank transactions, sales invoices, etc., as a CSV file, so that your history is kept. And if you decide to change, you can, of course, you have access to your data, and yes, it is secured in a safe location with daily backups. Yes.
So, according to us, we are only working with chartered accountants. So, the Ordre des experts comptables, les conseils supérieurs de l'Ordre des experts comptables et au conseil du commissariat aux comptes knows us. So I don't think there is a problem regarding legal concern for us. But this is a good question because this is a gray area because robots are performing human work. So there is really a strong debate about it. But I think that in the future, automation will be more and more of operation will be doing by computers and robots, and accountants will focus on controlling and performing added value operations. So I think that everybody is kind of okay with this. Our data are secured on Amazon S3 only in France. And regarding how Chaintrust work, you only drop your FEC, you only drop your invoice, and you receive a file compatible with Cegid, with Ibiza, with Quadratus, with your accounting software, and that's all. There is no any implementation. It's overnight.
Hi guys. So two-part question. First part is what really motivates you to keep going down this path and in this industry personally? And second thing is, like, let's say you do end up getting to a point in the companies where you basically solve the problem that you're trying to solve. What then?
So, sorry, I didn't understand.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I was slow.
My bad.
I'll put my US accent on, sorry.
No worries.
First question was, what is really motivating you guys to do what you're doing in the industry? And the second part is, like, let's say you get to a point where you end up solving the problems that you're trying to solve in the industry, then what?
Okay, that's a really interesting question. What drives us to this is that I'm taking a diplôme d'expertise comptable. I'm passing the diploma, and I don't like to spend my time doing accounting. I prefer to do forecast or to do fiscal optimization, so that's why I created Chaintrust. My other co-founder started 3 business, and he really hated the accounting part. And my last co-founder started a company in California when he already tried to tackle the accounting, but he wasn't so sure. So we all are motivated about giving people time and turning the really work part and let them focus on their business.
I think we all started wanting to solve pains we had in our former experiences. And as we often say, accounting is cost for companies. We do believe that it's an opportunity to manage better your firm. And me, personally, what I find very interesting is understanding the businesses. See how business works and see how they are all very different, but at the same time you have patterns that make them successful or not. And you can understand all that through accounting, through the finance of the company. And I would say it's why we try to automate maximum what's not interesting in the accounting, and to focus people on what's great, meaning understanding the business models and helping the owners. And so it's very, very cool. And if you ask until where you want to go, I must say, I'm sure one of us or one of the accounting startups one day will be like the future Facebook of business data. I think we have a lot to understand about how works like global economics in a territory. If you can read all the flows there is between companies, and automating accounting, it means having the same data for everyone, same type. So then you can understand a lot more the macro system. We have some chartered accountant clients that are very powerful in a territory, having like 50-60% of the companies. And inside their clients together, you see a lot of exchange, a lot of transaction, and you can understand the economic dynamic of the territory. And I think there's a lot of things to do once we reach the point of being able to use those information. So it's very exciting to see the growth there is behind and the potentiality of helping a lot of companies to succeed. We have in France BPI, like the bank of the public bank of investment, that is helping on companies to get consultant to help make the good decision. And I think we are able to do it, or we will be able to do it through accounting.
As for me, I will speak on behalf of my CEO and founder, Jonathan, who actually came back from LA, so he's here tonight. And so his idea was actually, his motivation was actually a pain, because as a certified accountant, he couldn't figure out a way to quickly manage the accounting of freelancers and self-employed people. And so he wanted to automate that, and that was his motivation, basically to gain time. And as for me, my main drive is automation. I'm a techie, so I'm a geek, so I love automation. And that's something that drives me on a daily basis. And as for what's coming next, I think that ideas they come quicker than their implementation. So as long as there will always be ideas, and it will always be quicker to think about them than to implement them. So I think we'll never lack of ideas to. So after when everything is automated, what can we do? I mean, we can keep automating a lot of things like consulting, advice, having things in more real time than it is now. So there are so many things that we can do, I'm sure.
We're gonna take one final question. Oh, that was a final question then. Oh, yeah, let's go. Go for it.
What is the entry point to launch an accounting startup? Because I've heard some conflicted information that in France, because of the legislation, one of your co-founders need to be an accountant or have an accounting background.
Well, I'm not I try to answer. Well, you are talking about technical requirements, meaning that
legal
requirements. So you can launch a startup if you want about accounting. The end game is that you cannot do accounting job basically, if you're not a chartered accountant. But if your startup, it depends on what your startup is doing. If your startup is only automating invoices and turn those invoices through OCR to turn those data into other structured data, this is not really this is not really a problem, legally speaking. But I'm gonna let the mic to Romain, which is a professional regarding this matter.
No, but I think it's why I'm surrounded by future chartered accountant. No, it's on the, I mean, either you do a tech company, if you do accounting firm, you need to be chartered accountant and registered. There is no way you can sell accounting if you are not registered as an accountant. So,
as long as you don't provide accounting service, you're fine. And again, it's about interpreting the words, and that's where it gets complicated.
Yeah, that's clear, thank you.
Sorry?
Yeah, that was clear, thank you. That was my question.
You're welcome. Okay, so we're ending here, and thanks for being here tonight.
Que la famille.